Hey, just recording my reactions to the latest video I watched today. I asked God to prove he was real. What happened next shocked me. And on a scale of enjoyability, I forgot to write this. I put a hyperlink, so I don't know. I forget. I think it might just, yep, no, I forget. I'm switching tabs over here, but I guess it's not being recorded. But I think this is still recording. Yes, it looks like it's still recording. Anyways, I was going to rate it. Um, as far as like enjoyability and like ease of listening, it was like a 3. It was very fine to listen to. It was just someone telling their life story, and I didn't mind that at all. Um, it does feel awkward though, because I think I respected the atheist drug dealer a little more, as far as like, oh, I feel like I'm connecting, but I think overall it still felt like he wasn't speaking. He was speaking about the things that walked him to this place that he's in now, and it felt pretty sincere in a way that I could like understand and empathize with and appreciate. I think the first like thoughts I have immediately as far as like what to talk about or whatever. I think the thing it seemed like yeah, things standing out in my mind to mention or talk about is like the series of coincidence. I don't know, man. The series of those events that he had, that like it was a series of, you know, him asking for something and that request being like responded to, kind of thing. Um, in the series, a lot of ways, it seemed like a pretty direct response kind of thing. Um, I'm trying to remember. I think the biggest one that I know he mentioned, there's like, I'm trying to remember all of them. I can only remember the biggest one that stood out was like the moment where he's like, God, I need you to give me an answer or something. And like just after he did that, he ran out to a field or something. I think because he was upset. I don't totally remember. And he's in his, I don't know if he said it out loud or if he said it in his head. I think he said it in his head, but he's like, God, if you're real, I need you to respond. I need you to give me a sign. I need to know. And then all of a sudden a big huge flock of birds out of nowhere popped up, and that like seemed significant. And I felt like that was a moment where like I could imagine that feeling of like I just asked for something that I'm kind of doubting could happen. Like I don't think this is gonna work, and then it works, kind of thing. And you're appealing to something supernatural or something out of your hands, and it works, kind of thing. And then all of a sudden you start getting that feeling of, wait a second, is this real? And I felt like I could understand and empathize with that feeling of like, wait a second, is this real? Was this what I just asked for, kind of thing? Or was this just a coincidence? But like, I wish I could remember all of them. But that was the biggest one. I know there was another one where he's locked out of his car and he needed the keys. He was knocking on the door, and that was the only way he knew to unlock it, and it wouldn't work. And he's like, well, I may as well just ask God. God, could you help me, or could you help me get in the car or something? And then all of a sudden, just after that, he like stepped on a crowbar and he was able to jimmy his way in. And like, wow, that's another coincidence. Um, I wish I remember the other ones, but yeah, it sounded like there was more of a series of ones that like led him to be like, okay, this is a lot of stuff happening in sequence just after, like, you know, just after requesting a sign or something. And so I was able to like understand and feel that feeling of like, okay, like I'm starting to like, it's that like moment in a movie, in like a fantasy or a cartoon or something, where like, you know, the story revolves around characters in a real world and in a modern day world, and then all of a sudden they like encounter something supernatural or fictional or like fantastical, and they're like beginning to wonder, wait a second, is this really happening? Is this real? Like, when you go from like reality can only be one thing, and like this can only be one thing, to like, wait a minute, and then you start believing something else or whatever, because at a certain point it's like more is happening to make you think this is real than it's not, kind of thing. um where it's harder to believe these are just coincidences. They're too related, kind of thing. Um, so that was the thing that stood out to me the most. But like, and like, I could imagine that awkwardness as I would. That's how I would articulate it. Of like, I'm asking for a sign, and then something that could be a sign happens, or something, in response, almost seems in response to happen. Um, but for me, it just feels like I need something more. It can't be like interpreted any other way, kind of thing. Like, I don't want there to be any chance of it being a coincidence, and I feel like I need to understand exactly what it is, or it doesn't need. It has to be something that I can't be like questioning what it was, kind of thing, or how it happened, or whatever. And I guess it's kind of also awkward when I consider like, you know, and again, who knows? God is mysterious in his ways, and why does he do what he does? Or, why do certain people have different experiences? Why does he reveal himself in some ways to some people and in different ways to other people, kind of thing? But, like, it seems like some people have more obvious experiences than others, and others sometimes have no signals. Um, and others sometimes, like this guy, have lots of signals or whatever. And they vary in their degrees of, like, persuasion or, like, connection to Christianity, like, someone having a really vivid, conversation where it's like it versus something like you ask for something in your mind and then something happens in response to that, kind of thing, or it seems to. Um, that was just one of the other things. I was like, why does there? It seems kind of like inconsistent, which is a question in my mind. Why isn't it like, why? I feel like it should be something, I don't know, consistent or fundamental or unquestionable. Um, but like, again, I don't know. That's something on my mind, and I don't know how, like, I can still, I don't have any answers, and I don't know who does, and God could still exist, and I might not have an answer to this question or whatever. But that's something that's on my mind. Let's see. It's interesting, like, hearing another, like, Buddhist story where, like, started raised Buddhist, but like, it seems, I don't like it when I hear about like anything ideological. That sounds bad, and that sounded like that was his upbringing, of like just ideologically Buddhist, raised ideologically Buddhist or whatever. Especially when you're like mocking other religions or mocking other people. Um, I don't know. I mean, that's typical of any teenager or kid or whatever. But that sounds like you're raised very ideologically rather than like, um, a lifestyle for happiness and well being. And then the other, like, are mom into witchcraft, and them caring about what their children do after they die. Like, I don't know. It's very I don't know. That's not the Buddhist stuff that I'm interested in, or I find myself inclined towards. Now that I know that's incorrect, or I mean, not that I know that stuff doesn't exist or whatever, or I mean, whatever. But it's just not the stuff I am appealed to or whatever, or it's definitely not. Yeah. Anyways, um, but yeah, for me, I was just thinking like, what is the point where you're like willing to tie yourself to something and commit yourself to something, and what does it take for you to get to that point? How much of that is on God versus how much of that is on you? Like, what if he didn't, I don't know, what if he didn't get convinced, or would God just have kept showing him, giving him more coincidences? Like, God just really wants him to be a certain person, so he's willing to put more effort into revealing himself or making it, whatever, versus like with other people it's not so much the case. um I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I thought I might be going somewhere else, but yeah. But yeah, anyways, I think that's my reactions. I'm trying to think. I thought I had more to say. I thought there was more different stuff to react to. But I don't really think so. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I have too much. Yeah, there's nothing else I can think of. But yeah, so it was fine. I didn't mind it. Not bad, but yeah, still didn't really feel like I. Yeah. Anyways, not that the point is to take away something. But yeah, that would. I think that if I'm given a what stood out to me the most, it was me questioning like, what is the what does it take for a series of things to be judged or interpreted as a coincidence versus interpreted as something that like, oh no, this is something else. This is you know supernatural or something. I don't know, maybe. But anyways, that's what I got.